Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to our, July special event for the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. Our topic today is your visibility locally and online. Our special guest today, our featured member, if you will, is Lore. Oh my gosh, Laura, I've never even asked you. How do I pronounce your last name? Goldstein or Goldstein?
Goldstein.
Goldstein. Lore Goldstein is a holistic psychotherapist and yoga teacher supporting people in their journey to releasing emotional energy and baggage for more peace within, which, of course, we all know the world needs right now. Lore is a hopeless fan of House Hunters International and is passionate about animal welfare, thus volunteers 1 day a week at her local animal shelter. Lore has been a member of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce since 2015, and she has now joined our team at the Holistic Chamber of Commerce as our chapter support mentor. She's actually been doing it for a few months now and really rocks in this position. So we wanted to shift a few gears today, this month, and introduce Lore in this position to the big world. And that includes all of you who are watching live and those of you who are watching the recording. So with that, Lore, thank you so much for all you bring to our core team, and take it away.
Thank you. It's so funny because we've known each other for a long time, and it's like, wait, how do you pronounce name? Wait, I never call you by this. I don't even know what to say. It's hysterical. All right, welcome everybody. We're going to be talking about visibility. It's a really noisy world, and this is so important for business owners to get recognized. We need to somehow figure out a way to be seen and be heard, and it's so hard these days between all of the different social media outlets. I mean, face it, it's impossible to be on all of them. And some of them, like, I don't even know. I mean, you talk about, Camille, some of these like Snapchatty thing or whatever that you do even for fun. And I'm just like, I don't even know the first thing.
I am on TikTok, but just for fun. There are so many social media platforms. It's like, how do you choose which one or ones? In general, by the way, just my 2 cents is pick your 2 favorite and focus on your 2 favorite. Like for us, if you look us up on LinkedIn, or if you look me up on LinkedIn, but also the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, or on Facebook, we're going to come up, and we're going to come up big, beautiful, bright, very attractive, because visibility matters, and online visibility matters, and social media is an easy way to do that.
It used to be on social media, in Facebook, you could actually see people's feeds. Like way back when, you would see what your friends were doing. But I tell you, nowadays, I see more ads on Facebook than I do people that I actually know. And I think if we're relying on using social media to be visible from an online perspective, it's getting harder and harder because there's so many people on there, so many people scattered all over the diverse platforms. But also now these companies want to monetize their social media business. So now you have ads that you're competing with, and it is difficult. And 2, I don't know about you, but a lot of times I get like kind of irritated with some social media posts because I'll see like, oh, earn $100,000 in your business in 1 month with my secret super special formula. And you're just like, seriously, really? You're going to go from like 0 to that? So I get like disillusioned by social media, and then I'm not even paying attention.
Well, I don't think that social media can be your only approach anymore. For us, we use social media like nobody's business, but we also use email, right? And I know that a lot of our chapter presidents use texting. And then, of course, we have the in-person network because those relationships really count too, right? In the world of sales, not a word I use very often, but the reality is if you're in business, you're making a sale at some point. That's how you stay financially sustainable and successful. And statistically, it takes 10 to 12 touches, 10 to 12 reminders before somebody's going to buy your product or your service, right? So from my point of view, that means visibility or exposure needs to happen in multiple ways. So somebody sees the Holistic Chamber of Commerce first on Facebook and then on LinkedIn, and then maybe they get an email, right? Or they see a post from their local chapter president, or they see a post from one of the members, right? It's bringing all of the ways we touch and connect together, which also helps prevent burnout a little bit, right? Because if I'm online all the time, I actually get burnt out.
And we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. We can't solely rely on email, like you said. We can't solely rely on social media. We need a variety. And I think what helps with visibility these days is really adding a personal touch to things. Something that I tell our chapter presidents when we're running membership specials, like we're waiving the application fee like we just did. We just had that promotion till the 4th of July. I'll tell them that, yeah, it's okay to put that on social media and to put out ads and share that, but, pick up the phone sometimes. And we were just having this conversation before we hopped on about like not answering the phone because it's like spam calls these days. But, people do leave a message or they send you a text. People like to feel like they are special in a way, and just reaching out personally, sending a text and saying, hey, we've spoken in the past. I just want to let you know about this. If you want to have a phone call, please reach out to me. So instead of just relying on social media, we need to do those little personal touches where people feel seen. Our potential clients and customers feel seen.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is just to recognize that just like our bodies are all different, right? We all respond differently to different therapies, if you will. Our communication preferences are also all different, right? I know people who really prefer text. I don't. Send me an email. So I think trying different ways to reach people is also, it gives them the option of responding in whatever format is best for them, right? I know people who, if I leave them a voicemail, they won't listen to it. And other people that if I send them a text, they're not gonna, they're not paying attention to that, right? And others who they just don't open their emails, but if I send them a text or pick up the phone and call them, so I think part of visibility is just recognizing that when you're in business, having multiple ways to connect. And again, visibility for me is about connections. It's about creating connections. Because if I'm not connected to somebody, then they don't know about my product or service. Now, the good news is, right, with the brand Holistic Chamber of Commerce, right, people don't really need to know my name because the brand will come up. And likewise, if somebody is looking for, the brand, I could come up. So that's what visibility is really about, is making sure that whether people are looking online, I'm showing up in search results, right? Or the HCC is showing up in search results, or if they're, asking their next door neighbors, right? I'm well enough connected locally that people say, oh, hey, Lore does that. Lore's a yoga teacher. Lore's a psychotherapist. Maybe she can help.
Yeah, and so that's like referral visibility, just being known in your community, and I think that's where local exposure really does help, because we're talking here about local and online visibility. I think the push now is online, especially with COVID. More people are working through Zoom, and there is obviously a sea of a lot of people out there in the online world. But there's a lot to be said for local connections as well, and showing up. If you have a local holistic chamber chapter in your area, go, show up, be present at those meetings, meet people, connect with people, because what you're talking about there, the connection is hugely important. When they know you, they can properly refer you. And that's a benefit of being an HCC member, is that we as holistic practitioners, I mean, mainstream businesses have a little bit easier time, like someone that does website design, people get the gist of it. But when you get more into the wellness sphere, like the spiritual energy healing sphere, a lot of people don't get it. And if you're trying to just explain yourself first to educate people of why your stuff is great and is super helpful to people, then you are wasting some of your time versus being in a community of like-minded individuals where they already get you and can spend that time getting to know you and truly like the specifics of how you help, so they can refer you. And their referrals are going to be a whole heck of a lot better than someone who has no experience or understanding and they don't even know who to refer you to. So,
well, and obviously the esoteric therapies, right? Those spiritual energy healers, the benefit, right, is you really are in a room full of people who get you and have a higher understanding already of what you do. So you don't have to explain yourself. But even in the world of things that I consider fairly standard now, acupuncture and chiropractic and essential oils, in a country with 330 million people, US, or a country with 33 million people, Canada, there are a lot of mainstream consumers who have never tried these things, who still go, what? Does that really work? Not just is it worth my money, but is it worth my time, right? So I think that word of mouth matters in those ways. And word of mouth, frankly, we call it social media, but social media is online word of mouth. And in-person networking is local word of mouth. And it's a way to just remind people that you really are there. You can't always say, hire me, buy my stuff. But if you're there at those networking meetings, or if you are there on your preferred socials, right, and people get that soft touch reminder, oh yeah, I've been wanting to try acupuncture. Oh yeah, I've been wanting to see how essential oils go. Oh my gosh, I wonder if hypnotherapy would get me through this stuck spot, or if yoga will help me get a little healthier, especially in this day and age when we're all thinking about immunity and how do I keep a strong immune system. So that for me is also part of the point. But visibility, it's another word for word of mouth or exposure, making sure that you are top of mind, because people are driving by drugstores every day.
Right. And popping in for things that they could use something much better for the body for. We know that's why we're here.
Here's a little sidebar. This is a little sidebar from our main topic, which is visibility. But, you know, I've had a couple of conversations with people recently about competition. Like, oh, I want to be the only one. Here's the thing, folks. You are not competing with each other. Your competition is over-the-counter drugs that you can pick up at the drugstore. Your competition is, I just need to go to my doctor and get a prescription. That's your competition.
Mm-hmm.
The acupuncturist, the hypnotherapist, the Reiki healer on the other side of town, you're not competing with them. I mean, frankly, the American Medical Association, big professional organization, all full of, I mean, theoretically, they're all competing with each other, but they get the power of coming together in that professional organization, right? It's the same with holistically minded professionals. So because we're talking holistic, right? It's the healing techniques, therapies, and specialists, but there's also that, how do we heal our money? How do we heal our budgets, our bank accounts? Because the bigger we get, right, the more we can reach to more people, right? Anyways, okay, sorry for that little sidebar.
Digress.
Not that I ever get off on a tangent, but now back to center.
Yeah.
Back to
visibility. When I talked about not having to educate, because someone on Facebook, just as Facebook user, so sorry, I don't know who you are, says word of mouth is the best networking. And I agree, as long as the people that are wording you understand what you're doing. So visibility is really a nice balance of like collaborating and working and connecting with people who know you and understand your mission and your values, but also educating the public on small little snippets, I think, is a great way to increase the visibility, because part of our responsibility here too is to educate people. Now, do we want to use that as like the forefronter of our business model? Not really. I mean, it makes more sense, you know, to sell tires to someone that actually needs tires versus someone that lives on the frozen tundra year round and never uses, you know, anything with tires. So it's like you want your marketing to be narrow and targeted, but visibility too is often just educating people. You know, talking about, oh, this is, you know, one thing that I do and this is why it works. I do that with my yoga classes all the time. We're doing this pranayama breathwork sequence, but this is why we're doing it. And if people can make a connection to the why to your how, or what they're experiencing, they're more likely to understand it. I think so many people just put stuff out there and you're like, but why am I doing this? This does, you know, what is this doing for me? How is this making sense? So educating, there is a spot for it. Don't get me wrong. I just wanted to, you know, throw that out there.
So I like to think of it as a progression: awareness, education, and access. So I need to be aware of acupuncture first. I mean, if I'm not aware of something, then it's not even on the radar as a possibility. And then I probably need a little bit of education about it, right? How does it work? Does it work? You know, some people are definitely into research and statistics. Other people just need a couple of good anecdotes about how something really made a big difference, you know, for a few other people. Oh, it works like, oh, let me try that, right? And then access, especially for the in-person techniques, right? I might be aware of acupuncture. I might be, you know, educated enough to know that I want to try it. But if I can't find a quality local acupuncturist, then it doesn't matter that I want to try it. I mean, in this day and age, depending on where you are, there are some people who are not going to drive to the other side of town to try acupuncture. So for them, right? They're looking for, is there an acupuncturist that's close enough to me, that's close enough to work or close enough to home that I can, pop in on my way to and from somewhere. That I think is frankly, I think that's one of the reasons why, big pharma is our competition. There's a drugstore on every corner. It's easy to pop in on your way to and from wherever. And heck, you don't even need to go to a drugstore anymore, because there's that section of your grocery store. There's that section of, Costco, as an example. So
accessibility. So accessibility here is part. That wasn't on one of my little bulleted lists, but but that's great, because what you're just saying is that visibility is being super accessible to people. So
yeah.
Are your product, services, what you do accessible to people, or do they have to hunt and peck to find you? Do they have to hunt and peck to create an appointment? Do they have to go through 50 steps to book a session with you? Or are you making it like super streamlined and simple for people to find you? And I guess too, that's why our goal is to have that online directory with the Holistic Chamber, is to make it super accessible to people to say, oh, who's local to me? Let me just, go to this one-stop place and check it out and see who's there.
Yeah. And, for mainstream consumers, especially, right, that Chamber of Commerce brand gives them a level of confidence, right? Because our brand carries the reputation of trustworthy, respectable professionals are members of the Chamber of Commerce, right? And certainly in an industry where there are still a lot of people who are exploring, right, new techniques, new therapies, I like to say healthier ways of getting and staying healthy, having that higher level of confidence. And they check references on their members. So I'm reasonably sure that this is going to be a good experience. But, I think accessibility is almost just another word for visibility. But like, I have been to websites where you can't find a phone number, or you can't find an email address. You can sign up for their email list so they can reach out to you, but there's no way for you really to reach out to them and say, hey, how much do you charge? But like, I'm not a negotiator. I don't want to have a conversation with you or with anybody about how much we charge. We're very transparent about our prices, because, again, when you go to Whole Foods, you can see how much you're going to spend, and you can choose between the generic brand, right, or between some of the higher end brands. When you go to any grocery store, not that we're a grocery store, except for in some ways, right, when you go to our directory, we're there you go. We're a holistic pharmacy of all of the different therapies that are out there and available, right? Anyways, so I think there are many layers to something that is also in many ways very simple. Visibility is making sure that people see you or hear you, on a regular basis. And that's partially that, certainly when you're talking about health and wellness, and not just mind, body, spirit, but also business, budget, planet. Like, if I'm going to hire a coach, a business coach, or a wellness coach, or a doctor, an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, I want to know they're dependable. I want to know if something comes up that they're going to be available for me, right? That I'm at least going to be able to call or email and get some input. Oh, you probably, can get a good night's sleep, drink more water, call me again tomorrow morning, let me know how it's going. And if you need to, we can schedule some time for you to come in. Or we can schedule now the wonderful world of technology, we can schedule a video call, right? A video consult. So that's the other thing that video or that visibility really, I think, brings to the world that's good for you is it's just that ongoing reminder that, yeah, this person is dependable. They are there, they're available. And if
they're consistent with what they're doing, what they're saying, showing up. Consistency is huge for visibility. Showing up once a month or once every other month isn't going to be helpful. And something that you said kind of got me thinking about visibility in terms of actual marketing copy. Can people find your phone number or an email address? But by reading the information that you're putting out there, is it authentic to you? Does it sound like you? Hello, Kat, you're not helping. He always wants to help. Is it your language, but also do people understand what you're saying? Are you making it simple? And I find a lot in the wellness, ethereal, spiritual world, people like to make it sound beautiful and wonderful, and come experience an opening your heart center to really connect to that divine sacredness. That's what somebody who is not quite there yet, that's just kind of learning about you, is going to be like, I don't even understand what that means. And I've literally read copy because I'm like a word geek. I love copy and writing. This. I'm like, ooh, let me see how I can change the energy of what we're saying here. But I've read things like, connect to the rebirthing process, which triggers my psychotherapy, and maybe because of the 90s quack cycle where people were suffocating their clients trying to do the whole womb rebirthing. Anyway, I digress too.
Wow.
But they will say things like, going back to experiencing the womb so you can blossom and grow. And I've read these things and I'm like, I don't even understand what that is based on what you're telling me. So are you stuffing me somewhere? I really don't know. So when we are visible to people, we want to make sure that our language is very clear and says what is, and it breaks it down for people who are maybe newer looking at what you do, because any complex, fluffy language, it's going to turn people off that are thinking, well, let me try it and just see, how this works.
Well, I think that brings up an important, relevant point, which is if you go to a Holistic Chamber of Commerce meeting or one of our online groups, the language you use might be different than if you go to your conventional Chamber of Commerce. Because the people you're going to be talking to at the Holistic Chamber of Commerce are likely different than the ones you're going to be talking to at your conventional Chamber of Commerce. Now, I think there is a lot of value in being connected through both. Because for me, the HCC provides also a support system, right? So some of my conversations with fellow HCC members just give me ideas and insights and input that make running the business easier, while going to a conventional networking group gives me new contacts. It allows me to invite people in, right? To start them on that awareness, education, access continuum, knowing that, they may not sign up today because they're still, unaware, but once they connect with me or connect with you, right, they get on the path so they can come and try your product and service. And they may not be ready today, but, come a month or 2 months from now, they might need exactly what you have. So you might also find, in terms of your marketing message, that you're using kind of two different sets of messages, right? One that's a little bit more for the people who already get you and what you do, and one that's really written and designed for the people who are still dipping their toe in the water or don't even know where the water is to dip their toe in. But if we want to expand our audience, right, it all starts with visibility, access, education, accessibility, right? No, awareness, education, accessibility. And accessibility is that visibility, that reminders. I mean, advertising really in many ways is just reminding people, oh, we're here for you. Oh, we're here for you. We've got this, try this, try that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, my dream come true, by the way, in the world of visibility is that we are big enough that we are running ads so that when people are flipping through a magazine or when they're watching some show, they may see the big pharma ad, but right after it, they see the Holistic Chamber of Commerce ad.
We're like Nike. People know us.
Yeah, I like that. Because then our members, right, our members really get found. And people really start to explore and actually experience holistic therapies, right? We get out of the realm of, oh, that's a nice idea, but I'm not sure it's for me, and into the realm of, I have been wanting to try that. Let me go find somebody today, right?
It takes some experimentation, I think, because you need to figure out like what visibility tools, solutions work the best for you. I mean, maybe it is, the HCC in combination with the conventional chamber. I mean, we're not the only networking entities out there. And again, we're not in competition because we're very unique. We're niche specific. We provide different things for people. But there's, BNI, there's a bunch of networking things, and you need to experiment with the visibility to see what really works for you and what feels authentic.
Well, so in the world of visibility, I think another thing that I've seen going on in some of our chapters is some of our chapters run wellness fairs, right? And they might call them a Healthy Living Expo or a Healthy Living Fair. But you have a group of people. So, and I'm not pretending that a wellness fair takes no work. Look, I've been involved in them. They take some work. Well, many hands makes light work. When you got a collaborative group, right, you can pull something like that off because everybody is really pitching in. And it's good for visibility in your local community, especially these days.
Well, and just like experimenting with maybe local groups in terms of visibility, you also need to experiment with the social media online aspect of it. Where do your ideal people hang out? Are they Facebook users? Are they more millennials? Millennials, from what I understand, do not like Facebook. They think it's like an old person's thing. Especially my son's teenage, my husband's teenage son is like, Facebook, nobody goes on that. Only old people do. So you need to be aware of, amongst, if it's online visibility, amongst all these different platforms, where are your people hanging out? Are they more business professionals? Are they on LinkedIn mostly? I feel like Facebook has become a little bit of like the backyard barbecue where people just kind of pop in and out and hang out. It didn't always used to be that way, but that's just me personally where I feel it's going.
I think that Facebook is in many ways a backyard barbecue, and I'll give my little pitch for LinkedIn. People who are on LinkedIn, they tend to be goal-oriented. They understand the value of health and wellness, including healthy relationships, right? Some of them are caregivers as well. They're taking care of aging parents. They're taking care of their children. They're taking care of their own health. And if they're on LinkedIn, odds are that they have a job or they're looking for a job, which means they have money to pay for the products and services that they want. Mm-hmm. Right? So there is a, pun intended here, a healthy contingent of holistic types that are on LinkedIn, that are spreading the word about, everything from nutrition and overcoming subconscious blocks to the ways we apply holistic values in business, right? The way you, the way you manage your employees, the employee benefits that you have, communication, because communication goes, in so many different directions, right? We think of communication in terms of marketing a lot, but it's also how do we communicate with our coworkers or with our colleagues, family, friends, so, okay, that was getting back off of my LinkedIn. But I frankly, by the way, currently got 18,000 connections on LinkedIn. So it also feels less limiting than some of the other platforms.
Mm-hmm. And the point is, if like your target audience is stay-at-home moms, you need to figure out where they hang out, because if you're being visible in a platform where they just aren't, you're spinning your wheels.
Yeah, that's really true. I mean, for some people, Instagram is the place to be.
Right.
I know a lot of people who really love Instagram. We're on Instagram, but it's not me running it, right? And that is one of the other benefits of growing your business is, you can do more things, but not always have to be the one doing them. Mm-hmm. Yay.
And that brings, me back to that whole authentic piece. I know I said that before, but that's really important in terms of visibility, because if you don't like to take pictures, then being on Pinterest or Instagram goes against your natural energies. So there's a balance between choosing the platforms where your people hang out, but also doing what you love to do. If you never watch Facebook Lives and you're spinning your wheels doing Facebook Lives, it's like there's this question here of, I'm trying to be visible in this way, but why? Because it feels natural to me, or because I feel like I should be doing it? And when we should ourselves, then we often don't create that attraction or abundance that we want, because it feels wonky.
Yeah, so I think that so that kind of gets me back to another thing that I really like about the Holistic Chamber of Commerce is my conversations with members and chapter presidents very often open my eyes to new ideas, right? So if I'm looking at, one thing thinking, oh, I have to go do that. I don't want to do that. It's not authentic to who I am, but everybody's telling me I have to have a YouTube channel, as an example.
But if you hate doing videos.
Yeah. Then when I go have conversations with more, holistically minded people, I get other perspectives. Oh yeah, well, I'm not on YouTube at all, and I'm plenty successful, but I use, I'm on Facebook, or I'm on LinkedIn, or I'm on TikTok. There are people on TikTok. There are holistic types on TikTok. But it's not for everybody, right? There are 8 billion people in the world. Lots of different ways to create your authentic success. But if you have a product or a service that you're selling, then it does still come back to how visible are you? Can people find you when they want that product or service? Do people, know you well enough to know how to make referrals to you, right? And I think these days it's not an either or question, either online or local. I really think it's a both and.
Yeah.
It's creating a local presence. A lot of people really do want to hire local these days. But even when we're looking for somebody local to us, very often we're going to go to a search engine, or we're going to go to our favorite social and we're going to type in a question looking for. Can you help me find?
Right. Let's segue as we are getting close to the top of the hour. Just how the Holistic Chamber helps, like the specific ways that we help our members increase their visibility. The first thing I want to talk about is I think it's old new or new old, but I'm super excited about this. So if you're an HCC member out there, listen up. I'm going to be starting live streams like this, Meet a Member. And it's just a short 10 to 15 minute live video, but the goal is to not really do just like a flat out sales pitch, but it's to do that visibility, maybe a little educate, but talk about something that's really unique to you and your business, and then how people can reach you. So there's a little bit of like easy accessibility in there. But when you are in front of people and in these lives that we do that spread on the Holistic Chamber social media channels, so you get exposure across, YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and, wherever we are present, you get that exposure, and then the HCC audience that's watching, but then you can also share with your people as well. And it gives you credibility because here you are on a live stream with the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. So we're starting that this month. I think you did it before though, did you? And then we're coming back to it. I'm not sure.
We did a few way back when, and but it was before we were doing live streams in quite this way. So it was good, but I really think that it's going to be better this time around, and partially because we tried it before. So we got a good sense of what did work and what, we do want to continue using, and some of the things that maybe were a little less effective. But again, part of our role as a Holistic Chamber of Commerce is to really increase exposure for holistic therapies, for holistic approaches to health, to wellness, to personal development, and say, there are holistic ways to be in business. It doesn't have to be all cold calling and hard selling. It can be warm connections and heart selling.
So HCC members, keep your eye on your email because I'll be sending out links for people to schedule these. Just saying. Okay, so we have our Meet a Member videos. What else do we have at the HCC that helps our people with visibility?
Well, so our directory listings, all of our members, no matter what chapter they're in, have a directory listing. And our directory listings are really set up to be, I call it a booster shot for your SEO, for your search engine optimization. All of these big search engines, their algorithms and their bots are really tied to hyperlinks. So all of our directory listings, they create a link to your website, but B, you can also link to your social media channels. And all of that linkage just means that you are more likely to show up higher in search results on search engines. And that's good for you. And, So that is another feature. Plus, our members can also put their upcoming events on our events calendar so that when people are coming to our website, not only can they search the directory, but they can look for events. One of our sponsors, Illuminate Festivals, has, they're starting to do wellness fairs. And they've got their events all laid out there. But all of our members can submit events for that calendar. And in a world where people are looking online, and the events really, it doesn't matter whether it's an online event or an in-person event, we've got it set up now so that you can really do both, either or both.
So if you're a member and you're not setting up your events, go do that.
And update your directory listing, because,
Yes.
it looks good for you. Certainly if somebody comes and does a search on our website, you're more likely to show up and get their attention. But also it's good for where you show up in those other search engines as well. So, and what I like to say is, 5 minutes now gets me 5 clients throughout the year, right? Like, it only takes a few minutes to make updates or to submit an event, but those few minutes, even if it's 15 minutes, right, it gets me more clients down the line. And I only had to spend a few minutes once to do it. I mean, it's not like, for example, I update my LinkedIn profile every day. I did it. I do log into LinkedIn and Facebook on a regular basis, but really the time spent is time spent once, and it has that ripple effect or that residual effect so that it pays off throughout the course of, and our memberships are annual, right? Because you don't make $100,000 30 days from 0 to 6 figures, right? And frankly, Oprah didn't quit after she made her first $1 million, right? She's about her purpose. She's about her passion. We get started, and hopefully we set ourselves up with those tools. And one of those tools is Holistic Chamber of Commerce membership, in a way that lets it run and support us as long as we keep going. I'm here for a purpose. So I'm not going to do it and, get in and get out. It's how do I get in and stay in successfully? And eventually I think I'm going to retire, but the HCC isn't gonna, I know. But, Toastmasters is still Toastmasters, right? The founder of Toastmasters, long gone, but the organization still going strong. Mm-hmm. Same with Rotary. Founder of Rotary, long gone, but the organization still going strong, right? And that's part of the point, is this is something that you start and it's going to support you over the long term.
Legacy.
On an ongoing basis. What?
Your legacy.
Oh yeah, my legacy. Well, I didn't have any children. So this is
your baby.
Yeah, there you go. This is my baby. Now maybe we should talk a little bit about the chapters, because I think the chapters are the other thing that we do that really and it makes a difference they make a difference in 2 ways. One is that they really create a strong local professional presence, right? So your community starts to hear more about holistic therapies, and specifically the members who are involved in the local chapter, right? But they also create a support network. I mean, being in business is, some days there are just things that come up that you feel like you're hitting your head against. How do I do this? Is there another approach? Are there other words I should be using? So it's also a support network for members so that they can keep stay inspired and continue getting solid input, right, on what next or what now, or, that didn't really work the way I wanted it to. What are some other options, or is there another perspective?
Well, and speaking opportunities too within our local chapters is huge. I've really found great value in attending the various local chapters of the places that I've lived. And I mean, A, I'm a people person. B, speaking and, talking like this comes real natural to me. So it's really given me the biggest bang for my buck to get in front of an audience and talk. And our chapters have speaking opportunities for our members. So you can speak to the people in the local chapter, but also with COVID, a lot of our chapters still do like hybrids and 1 month Zoom for those that feel more comfortable, the other month in person. So when you're a member, you have the opportunity to speak not just within your local chapter, but with another chapter, say across the country, because you're still a member, and you have something to offer that community. So the speaking opportunities, visibility.
So I'm just gonna I'm jumping on this one because you've been a member since 2015. So one of the reasons we chose you to be our chapter support mentor, and I think one of the things that makes you so good at supporting our chapter presidents is just that. You have been involved in the Miami chapter and in the Fort Lauderdale East chapter and
Maryland.
Severna Park up in Maryland. So so you've seen different approaches. You've seen a lot of things at work, and that I think makes you really the perfect person. By the way, I did used to be a chapter president way back when, the very first chapter, right?
The only chapter.
Yeah. But as we grew, right, it just didn't make sense for me to be a chapter president anymore, which was when we said, okay, we really need somebody else that is, supporting our chapter president so that they can grow given the state of the world today, because the world is not the same as it was 10 years ago.
Well, and being a chapter president in itself has huge visibility bonuses.
Oh, yeah.
So our chapter presidents that come in are strong leaders that have established communities. But then when they can say, I'm the president of a holistic chamber of commerce chapter, if they have a physical location and they hold meetings at their physical location, even just being out there in the community and talking to people about I am the president, there is an element of and I hate to use the word prestige because we're not kind of going for the ego like, oh, I'm so awesome. But there is that greater influence of, being known, likability, people knowing you just because of the position that you hold. So, being a chapter president provides a lot of visibility, opportunities.
I'm not gonna, so prestige it's nice. I think the better word is respect. Yeah. I think a lot of community members listen differently when you say you're a member of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, or you say I'm the chapter president for the local chapter of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, right? Mm-hmm. We pay attention. That's why people volunteer to be the chapter president for the Toastmasters group or for the Rotary group or for the BNI group, is because, right, they get that president position carries with it, some higher level of respect. But again, I think prestige is in many ways still a solid word.
Sometimes words get a negative connotation, but it is a feeling of abundance and prestigiousness. That's not a word. Just to, be in that position of, leading a group, being a community leader. So
Yeah. So I do see a question here. And by the way, we really do need to wrap it up a little bit, but I do want to respond to this question. Isn't there someone in Pennsylvania now? There is one chapter in Pennsylvania now, but I want you all to think about Toastmasters and Rotary. And yes, we're not, I cautiously say BNI, but I want you to think there's not one state chapter. There are, I mean, frankly, all of those organizations probably have hundreds of chapters in your state. And if you're in a really heavily populated city, there might even be multiple chapters in your city. The reason for that is, right, the more we come together in collaboration, the stronger we are as an organization, right? Also, all of our chapter presidents, they have a little bit of a different style, right? So just as an example, we have one chapter in Fort Lauderdale East, and we have another chapter in Boca Raton. They're, I don't know, maybe about an hour away from each other. So I think of them as sister chapters. The chapter presidents get along just great, but I know that their meetings are run a little differently. Mm-hmm. So that's why you have multiple chapters in organizations like Toastmasters and Rotary and the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, is because you want to have options and possibilities for the great variety of people out there to, you know, find a place to connect with each other. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we have one chapter in Pennsylvania, and we want to have a lot more chapters in Pennsylvania and every other state. And yes, planning on getting back up to the provinces.
Mm-hmm. So if you aren't a member and you're interested, check out our membership options over at holisticchamberofcommerce.com. We do have different tiers, and they do have different visibility and exposure benefits. So you want to make sure you check out our comparison chart to then choose the member level that works best for you and what your visibility goals are.
And we'll probably put some of the links in this thread later today so that you can easily click on these things. If you pre-registered for the event, we will be sending a follow-up email as well. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.